Chad Ikes for Courage Barbell with another episode of this channel. Today, we're not in the gym, but as I keep telling people, not everything is in the gym. Strength training is not always in the gym. There's so much more that is very important. And one of the things I cover is something I've been thinking about recently with training clients and watching videos on Instagram and all that stuff. It seems to me there's a lot of lifters that miss the big point of strength training and what it actually involves and what it is. So today I want to tell a story because all of my experience, all of my expertise in lifting, what made me so successful was trial and error. It was making a lot of mistakes that allowed me to become more intelligent and to gain more knowledge, to become one of the best power lifters of all time. And I'm trying to help other lifters to avoid that situation. And what I want to talk about today is I'm going to touch on in an article on my column at EliteFTS.com. So please go check that out. There's tons and tons and hundreds of great articles that I've written and tons of great other authors on that site with tons of great articles, tons of great information, tons of great products. What I want to talk about today is for a new lifter to intermediate lifters, yes, you kind of need a program. You need something to go to judge what you're working and how to get started. And you kind of need just a little base to get going. But what you need to remember, even as a beginner or intermediate lifter, the goal is to learn your body. That's the goal. So you always want to be focusing on that. I think too many lifters get caught up in the reps, sets, like, am I hitting the right percentages? Am I hitting the right numbers? And they think that all that's it. That's solid. That's what I need to do. Ironically, when they follow other programs that aren't as much as don't seem to push them as hard as they want to push every day, then they'll throw that out the window. But the goal here is to learn to use your body. It's so important that we lift with intent. It's so important that we understand the muscle groups we're trying to hit. It's important that we understand the technique. It's not important that you always hit your reps and sets. It's not important that you always hit the specific percentage you think you want for that day. There's a much bigger picture going on here. And as I've said many times, I grew up with bodybuilding information because that's all I had. I had books on bodybuilding. I had magazines on bodybuilding. That's what I had to go off of. And in some respects, I always talk about wishing I had somebody like me when I was like 15 in the gym or 12 years old in the gym. Like, what could that have changed? How much stronger and greater could I have been? But in some respects, training as a bodybuilder, I think, gave me great tendon and ligament strength. And it taught me about intent. It taught me about the mind-muscle connection. It taught me about not worrying so much about reps and sets. Because we would do like say, for instance, I've always hated curls, but I would do drop sets of curls. It wasn't important. You don't really, you do the reps for the first couple ones, and after that, it's like, no, this is a burnout. Like, the idea here is to burn my biceps out. So you learn, you're just curling. I'm not curling for reps. I'm curling until I can't curl this weight. Then I'm going to go down to the lighter weight. And I'm going to keep going. And so you learn that, like, I'm not looking for reps and sets. I'm looking for a feeling. I'm looking to tax this muscle out and feel this pump. And I need to have that mind-muscle connection. I need to not just be throwing the weights around. I need to focus on what I'm doing and focus on those muscles and have that mind-muscle connection. So I'm taxing that muscle like I need to. So I think that in that aspect, the bodybuilding stuff was actually really good for me to start with. And I have no problem starting newer lifters on bodybuilding type routines to this day. But then let's jump forward. Okay, I through the shot put in college, I trained under my college coach and he did all my lifting stuff too. And so I learned a lot about that. I got a lot stronger. And then at the age of 27, I go into powerlifting. And as soon as I've said this many times, I knew I didn't know enough, and I knew I needed to learn. So Dave Tate, Elite FTS seminars. So my first time training with Dave Tate, we did dynamic bench. And we went in and Dave's like, yeah, we're doing 10 sets, 3 reps, fast as you can. We're working on speed. You're also working on technique, but speed is the main key here. So we go through, and about 6 sets in, Dave's like, that's it, Chad, you're done. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, you said 10 sets. I can do my 10 sets. Like, I'll do it. And Dave's like, bullshit, you're done. And I'm like, no, we're 10 sets. I will goddamn do all my 10 sets. I don't give a shit. I'll get them done. Dave's like, no, you don't understand. Like, your technique is falling way off. And more important, your speed is dropping off. You're getting slower and slower. So he's like, say you do 4 more sets. What's the benefit? Like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? We're doing this to increase your speed. Another 4 sets of you going slower and slower is not going to help the situation at all. And it kind of started to click in my head like, okay. It's not really about the sets. It's about getting what I need to get out of that exercise. Why are we doing this? Yes, maybe we're saying we want 10 sets, but what is the goal of this exercise? And if I waste way more energy on this exercise, how much is that giving me in the next, like we move on to say a tricep exercise? Well, I did 4 sets that aren't the speed that I should be hitting. It isn't the technique that I should have. Those 4 sets are not benefiting me at all. And in fact, they're having a negative effect because that's just more energy I'm wasting that I could be using for my next tricep exercise. And now I'm reinforcing a slower speed. I'm reinforcing worse technique, which is not the point of this exercise. So I want lifters to kind of start. I mean, I understand when you start, you're like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, or I'm new to this. So like, I'm going to follow this rep and set, and I'm going to follow these percentages. I get that. But the goal is to really, when you're training, try to feel your body and yourself and see how you feel. And if you have training partners, ask them to look at your technique, look at how you're moving, and see, you going, oh, I got to get 10 sets. Well, if 3 of what you're supposed to do completely suck ass, what's the point of going through that? And most of the time, you're going to cheat so bad that you're not even training the muscle groups that you're supposed to be training. I mean, I see this in rows a lot. Like, people do rows and they don't ever work the muscles that they're supposed to work because they're set on, I need this many reps, this many sets, I want to use this weight. Instead of just going, no, if you want to get 10 and you can't get 10 with that weight, then drop the weight, get your 10. Or stay the weight you're at and do 8 that are really good and drop off those last 2. And this goes for the percentages too. Like, a lot of people like, oh, I need to do 85% today. Okay, well, who said you need to do 85% today? What, that's based off your 1 rep max. What is your 1 rep max that actual day? See, I trained conjugate almost my whole career. There literally were days where I could squat 1,200 pounds. And there would be days where I would go in and 800 pounds felt like a freaking house. Like, my actual 1 rep max could change that much on a day-to-day basis. Depending on if I was feeling good, depending on work, depending on stress, depending on overtraining. I mean, there's times where I overtrained really bad in my sleep. I'd be up for 3 or 4 days, up to 2 weeks at a time. Well, that affects my strength. So my 1 rep max is different on a daily basis. We're all that way. Most of us might not have that big of a gap in there, but the higher the level is, the bigger that gap seems to increase. So if I'm judging my percentages off this, well, how do I really know what my day-to-day basis is? That's where I haven't got to play around with actual velocity training and measuring the velocity. I do have a Kabuki velocity deal here that I need to get on and figure out, because that one interests me the most, because then you are basing your velocity on your speed that day. How are you feeling that day? How is your speed that day? Which I think is a really interesting concept that I do want to play around with more. But the whole point here is that, like, stop getting so wrapped up in sets, percentages. If you're following a program and they have percentages, then you need to kind of stick with that person, put a lot of time into that training, and you need to kind of stick with what they're doing. But understand that, listen, it's technique is more important. Actually working the muscle to the extent that you want. If you're an RPE guy, like really understanding the RPE scale and where you're at, and having a realistic look at what your rate of perceived exertion is very important, because it's going to change day to day. And I believe that's part of why they do the RPE, is it's based on, here we want you to go to this point. Well, if you're so caught up in your sets and reps, you're not really doing that. So I just want beginning and intermediate, and even there's some big lifters that need to kind of step back and take a look and go, wait a minute, why am I always trying to hit the specific number? Like, I don't even really count reps that much anymore. I'm like, okay, this is general strength training right now. I'm on a supplemental thing. I want to hit somewhere between 3 sets of 8 to 10. I'm not that specific on the counting. I'm not that specific. If it's a new exercise, I'll grab a weight and I'll be like, oh, I could do 14. So I'm going to do 14. And then I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to go a little heavier because that was more reps than I wanted to do. But so what? That one set, I pushed it. I went where I wanted. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. Start paying more attention to your body and how your body feels and what you're getting out of the lift. I guarantee if you do this, if you start focusing more on intent, mind-muscle connection, making sure the movement is right and the technique is right and you're actually working the right muscles, you will see way better gains than if you're just going after, oh, I got to do this many sets. I got to do this many reps. I can tell you there's tons and tons and tons of top athletes that have gone into the gym and went, nope, don't feel it today, and left. Or went, yeah, hey, they get their main movement done and they're like, man, I'm pooped, I'm done, I'm out. And they're not freaking out over every little set, rep, have to do this exercise, have to do this rep, have to do this percentages, and they're really listening to their bodies, because our bodies change so much day to day based on our nutrition, our sleep, our stress, our work, our kids, everything. We're just changing. We're human beings. We're not machines. So this episode, that's my advice. Like, try to start reading and listening to your body and work towards a point where you just trust your body and you listen to your body. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. Please share this channel. Please check out my Instagram. Like I said about the articles, go to Elite FTS. Check out my column. If you'll go to couragebarbell.com or courageathletics.com or alwayscourage.com, they'll take you to my store. You can get all kinds of like sweet merchandise, like my hat. We got lots of different shirts up there. We're trying to get more stuff up every day. I'm working on an offshoot line of t-shirts that I'm going to put up on that site. If you pay attention to some of the political, societal, and just all this shit that's going on today, I like to try to make people think and give them a chuckle at the same time if possible. So please check out the store. Please help this channel by picking up a hat or a shirt or something like that. And I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll talk to you next time. Chad Ikes, Courage Barbell. I'm out. Cut.